...2004. Wow, what a great year for gaming. Can you think of how many grade A critically acclaimed games were released that year that still hold up well nowadays? World of Warcraft, GTA San Andreas, Half-Life 2, Halo 2, Sims 2, Pikmin 2, Metroid 2, RuneScape 2... What? You think I forgot about RuneScape? Of course not. It was just the best one of them all. I guess you can say this was the year of sequels, judging by how many 2s were in the title of each game. And of course, let's not forget Doom 3. Like other first-person shooters, Doom 3 was hyped to have stunning 3D graphics, fully dynamic lighting, and an all-out realistic physics engine, and of course immersive and intensive gameplay. Did it deliver? Well, yes it did. It fetched critical acclaim for the most part, but was overshadowed by other FPS titles like Halo 2 and Half-Life 2. But Doom 3 had one distinct and important advantage over these games. It had a legacy. It brought the FPS genre into the mainstream when the franchise first began in 1993, so naturally a remake fit with new graphics and gameplay was bound to be huge. Now, last time I played Doom 3 I was pretty young, but I seem to have enjoyed it a lot as a Doom fan, and now, almost 12 years later, I'm going to give it another go, to see if it can truly live up to its name. Note that I'm aware of the 2012 BFG remake on Steam, but I'm choosing to play the original Xbox version to get the full flavour experience everyone would have had back in 2004. Look how awesome the case looks, the tormented skulls, the rough metallic texture and the curved corners. It feels like I'm holding some sort of futuristic Necronomicon. It says limited edition, but from memory everyone I knew owned this copy of the game. In fact, come to think of it, I'm pretty sure the plain label version was rarer. Go figure, eh? Fuck yeah, listen to that music, and that awesome intro. Hell, take me now, my body's ready. Before I play the actual game though, I should talk about a few of the extras. You have your classic concept art, interviews and dev vlogs, and you also get the ability to play classic Doom, which is pretty cool. But, not only that, you're also able to play 4-player split-screen co-op. Bear in mind, the likes of which hasn't really been seen in previous console games before this, so this is pretty cool. All these extras only come packaged with the limited edition copies of the game. Also, back in the day when Xbox Live was still active, you got the ability to play multiplayer co-op and deathmatch on this version of the game. Why this isn't an option for local players beyond me, but enough about that, let's start playing.
Darkstar, descend to 2000, set speed, contact ground on 26972.
Well, the game doesn't begin as you'd expect. There's a cutscene where we are introduced to the main characters, Sergeant Kelly, Elliot Swan, and the man of the hour, Doom Guy. I don't start off shooting anything though. Rather, I'm sent on this mission to find a missing scientist in the depths of Mars City. Yeah, it's called Mars City by the way, because it's actually on Mars, not the moons of Phobos and Deimos, like it was in the previous games. It may seem out of place for a Doom game, navigating dark hallways with no music and not shooting anything, but it actually sets up a pretty unnerving atmosphere and foreshadows everything to come, initially at least. Alright, so you finally find the scientist, he's jumpy and going off about some sort of portal, and Doom Guy has no idea what's happening, and holy shit, this happens. Alright, let's get blasting.
All units.
What?
This is Sergeant.
What? That was it? That's what I was set up for? A zombie and a possessed marine? I mean, it didn't even feel like I killed them properly. I just bashed one of them with my flashlight and it kinda just gooified. From here, the pace of the action slowly escalates. You start off fighting a few zombies and an imp, and then as the game develops you get higher tier monsters, all the while you hear your fellow marines get slaughtered over the radio, which is reminiscent of the very first game's storyline, if you can call it that. It's kinda good, but half the time you're not even killing stuff, you're navigating, you're hitting switches and trying to get some sense of direction. I had the same gripe with Doom 64. There's a lot of times in the game where you hit a switch and you have no idea what it opened or activated, and therefore no idea where to go. And when this occupies a large chunk of the game, it can get exceedingly tedious. What I should have mentioned is your PDA. Any data you collect throughout the game is downloaded onto this. This can include passwords for storage lockers, audio logs that you can listen to while playing the game like on Fallout 3. You can even watch videos, but yeah, who has the time for that, am I right? And emails. Yeah, seriously. Who would have thought that existed a Doom game where you can read an email about the upcoming ice cream social in Mars City? Yeah. But at least this one is kind of funny. There's so many others that are just pointless. Hey Byrne, some of the boys and I are headed over to Mars City tonight after the shift for some beers. You, as always, are welcome to come along with us, buddy. I will see you there, John. Or, Paul, the email spam lately is getting out of control. The worst company is that Martian buddy place. I can't believe all the things they send me. I don't know how they got my email address. Can't you do anything to stop the spam? I spend all morning deleting junk from my inbox. Thank you. Russ. So unless Russ or John turn out to be a demon, or, Paul is using email spam as a method of controlling Mars City, my conclusion is, this is pointless. It's about as useful as horse armor. Let's talk about the music. I mean, music is the most important part of the series after all. There's nothing we love more than annihilating and dismantling the terrifying hordes of hell to the classic tune of Running from Evil, or any of the other greats. But there's one problem. There is no music. Now, there's the opening theme you heard earlier, but that's it, and that was awesome. Why couldn't they have given us more? Instead you're given a chilling ambient music-like theme. Yeah, that's right, I said music-like, because it's not quite music, but it's not quite not music. You get it? Yeah, it's hard to describe. I guess the only thing I can say is, it's not like the soundtrack from Doom 1 or 2. It's very boring. But it is unnerving, and kudos to the devs, because I think that's what they were trying to achieve. But come on, you've got to have a score to kill monsters too. Give me something. Anything.
Things that bother you never bother me. I feel happy and fine. Ha-ha! Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
What they should have done is given us the option to either turn music on or off. And even if they didn't have the time or money to compose new music, give us the music from classic Doom. That way, both those who want a classic feel and those who want an immersive experience will both be happy. I should really stop comparing this to classic Doom, but it's so hard not to. For a game in the same franchise, it's astounding how different everything is. Classic Doom, Doom 3. Classic Doom, Doom 3. Classic Doom, Doom 3. What are we playing, Doom or the fucking claw machine? Look, I'm going to accept the fact that they're different games, and honestly, as I've said before, the entire atmosphere is pretty damn creepy, like when you go into a dark room and suddenly everything turns red and you hear satanic laughing. Shit! And there's also some parts which are just plain disturbing. Fuck. Especially some of the cutscenes. Jesus Christ. Well, that's one way of doing it. Now for the most important part, the combat. Well, one thing that really shits me is the lack of violence this game has. Everything you shoot just evaporates. Literally everything, even big monsters like the Mancubus, they just disappear. I don't want that. I want bodies, and I want them piling. Also, there's no blood. I mean, there's blood, but there's not blood. I want it squirting out like when you shoot enemies. I want them to dismember when you blow them up. I don't want them to just ragdoll and evaporate. I can kind of see the point for doing it for demon enemies because they're not mortals or some shit like that, but for zombies, it's just ridiculous. They were humans. Why are they disappearing? Maybe they would have had more space for this if they cut out the emails about ice cream socials. Now, speaking of the monsters, they're pretty cool, and they have most of the originals with the exception of monsters like the Spider Mastermind and the Arachnotron. However, their likeness seem to have been replaced with trites and ticks. God, what is it with spiders in video games that always scare me? Especially older games. Now, I live in Australia, you see, so seeing spiders this size is normal for me. But whenever I see them in video games, it feels like someone's shoving a red-hot cattle prod up my ass. Yeah, that's how much video games scare me. And while we're talking about scary, what about the cherubs? What the fuck? Do I need to say more? As for the others, I won't go into each demon individually because they all pretty much have the same design and same abilities, although your standard demon now is a more canine manifestation and the Mancubus looks like an elephant with a vagina mouth. Honestly, I find the possessed marines to be the most annoying enemies of them all. They're constantly chasing you, they're surprisingly strong, and when they shoot you, the screen goes red and your controller goes apeshit with vibration, only to find that you lose something like 2 health. What's the point? And the thing is, this doesn't happen with other enemies, it's only from ballistic damage. It's fucking annoying. I'm also really disappointed with the Arch-Vile. He's really easy to kill, half the time his attacks don't even hit you, and look at this. Could they have made him any slower? He just walks. I mean, maybe it does make sense, look how skinny he is. He's probably lacking all the basic proteins, carbohydrates and vitamins he needs to be able to do a light jog, let alone a lightning fast run. Poor guy. There's never a constant flow of monsters. The whole game is just going from room to room, clearing whatever's inside, with a few imps teleporting in every now and then. Now, this isn't bad because it can still be quite hard, but half the time you're alone in the dark, and while you think something's going to attack you, nothing does, because that's how the game is coded. It's kind of depressing. Also, the controls are weird. You can never shoot something smoothly, you kind of have to wait for the enemy to move in front of your crosshair. Even worse than that, some of the weapons feel so powerless, like the pistol and the shotgun. Yeah, the shotgun sucks, believe it or not. You're better off grabbing the chainsaw and going balls deep. The plasma gun and the chain gun are the best weapons by far, but the ammunition is scarce, so I always end up using shitty weapons to finish off the enemies. There's also a special weapon called the Soul Cube, I guess a play on the word Soul Sphere from classic Doom. It can instantly kill every enemy and severely damage bosses, and heal you with their remaining health, but can only be used once every 5 kills, which is actually not a lot, so it does come in handy. They got really carried away with the lighting in this game. I get it, it's a horror game, but don't rub it in my fucking face. Look at this. I can't see jack shit. Without the flashlight, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm shooting at. And you can't use another weapon with the flashlight. No, it's either one or the other. So unless you want to use the bash attack that the flashlight has, you're stuck shooting at the darkness. I mean, how hard would it be to attach a flashlight tool to your weapons anyway? Even if it was just one weapon, anything's better than constantly switching between the flashlight and your weapon. And you know what's worse than having to keep constantly getting your flashlight out? Having no flashlight at all. Yeah. When you first go to the Hell map, you're warped and lose most of your weapons, including your flashlight. But you know, Hell's full of fire and fire is light, so you don't really need one, right? Wrong! It turns out it's just as dark as the other stages. What kind of cruel joke is this when they take away your one source of light? Turns out DMX was right. It's dark and Hell is hot. At QuakeCon 2010, the programmers even stated, the game would have been more enjoyable if people could actually see it. Now, when the people who make the game admit this, I know for a fact that I'm not alone in this matter. So, putting it bluntly, fuck the lighting and fuck the flashlight. I suppose I should talk more about the storyline. As you go along, you get in contact with Sergeant Kelly, and he orders you to communicate with Earth so they can send reinforcements to Mars. You also encounter this arsehole, Dr. Petruga, the antagonist, who turns out to be the mastermind of the invasion. He's a real prick. There's also a third guy, Swan, a rep from UAC. Meant to think he's working in cahoots with Petruga as he tells you not to get in contact with Earth and send reinforcements. Also, look at him. He doesn't exactly look like a nice guy. There's a lot more, but to put it in the words of John Carmack, story in a game is like a story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important. So Swan turns out to be good, Kelly turns out to be bad, and Petruga plans on opening a gate to hell, allowing for millions of more demons to invade Mars City, which naturally leaves Doomguy as the only one who can stop it. When you encounter Kelly, he's been transformed into a biomechanical tank called Sabbath, armed with a BFG. When you figure out the mechanics to fight him, it's pretty easy. You shoot his BFG shots until they disappear, and then you just pump him with everything you got. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But the real question is, was Kelly working in conjunction with Petruga the whole time, or did he get possessed halfway through? Having open-ended elements like this is good for a video game. It leaves the audience speculating, and thus makes the game more memorable. While we're talking about bosses though, another one worth mentioning is the Guardian, essentially a giant demon dog. To kill him you have to destroy the seekers surrounding him which act as his eyes, and then destroy the blue energy sphere that will come out of his backside. It kinda reminds me of the battle with Nyland at the end of Half-Life. Once the Guardian is dead, you get the Soul Cube and are one step closer to facing your final fight. What's really cool in this game is the separation from Hell and the human world. While you're only in Hell itself for a few maps, you slowly notice the transition of Mars City from a human establishment to a more satanic stronghold as you journey through. It can be seen through obvious things like those massive tentacles that come out of walls, or subtle things like how the console screens display pentagrams. You also begin discovering the grim fate of your fellow Marines and other UAC personnel. Indeed, you don't need to go Hell itself, because Hell has come to you. As you reach the end of the game, you leave the mechanical infrastructure of Mars City and go underground where you find the remains of an ancient civilization that once inhabited the planet. The further you descend, the more intense the experience becomes, especially this part. Look how cool this is. It's almost like the gates of hell are opening. I know now that I'm getting closer to the end, especially when I start finding PDAs with messages from the staff of ID Software. Well, this is it, the fight I've been waiting for. It's the Cyberdemon. But wait, let's talk about this. What an obscure place for him to be standing. As I enter, I just happen to be staring up at his dick. No wonder Doomguy is so shocked. It's almost as if the Cyberdemon was like, alright, I'm gonna surprise the shit out of this guy when he comes in. He'll never expect me to be standing here. And more to the point, why didn't he just step on Doomguy when he first came in? He's big enough. I guess that's not the ending players wanted. To have the hero overcome the odds, make it to the final chamber, look up at the ballsack of hell and then get stomped. But anyway, the Cyberdemon itself looks awesome and gosh darn intimidating. Alright, bring it on, bitch. Okay, take two. Unfortunately, the fight is actually pretty easy. You just kite the Cyberdemon around the massive chasm in the middle of the chamber, which I assume is the Hell's Gate. He fires rockets at you, but they're really easy to dodge and they don't do a whole lot of damage when they hit you. There's also a whole bunch of demons that crawl out of the chasm and attack you. Kill these to recharge your soul cube and then attack the Cyberdemon with it. 4 hits and it's dead and game over. I know I'm talking about the music again, but damn, can you imagine how much cooler this fight would have been if nobody told me about ID was playing in the background? I could forgive the easy fight and just enjoy it for the overall atmosphere. After all, I've kind of gained a connection with the storyline and characters, whatever that extent may be, and I want to see the story fulfilled in an epic and iconic way. Maybe it's just me, but it'd be great if there was something as simple as the music that could finish Doom 3 with a bang and pay homage to the original game that started it all. But I guess it's up to me. So after you throw your last soul cube, the Cyberdemon dies, and there's that blood we've been waiting for. Yeah, that's right, you have to wait for the end to see all that good shit. The soul cube then plunges into Hell's Gate and closes it. Don't know how the Doom guy makes it out of there, but 4 days later those Marine reinforcements finally arrive at the devastated Mars City and find him. The only survivor. Betruga, however, is still alive, just not how you'd expect. Fuck yeah, the fight's not over yet. Doom 3 also had an expansion called Resurrection of Evil, released 8 months after. I've yet to play it, but I can only assume it's based around antagonist Betruga, or the Maledict as he's now known. Doom 3 was an interesting experience, but a good game in the end, and honestly, it's great to see that all the developers were happy with their final product. After all, it did take 4 years of development. Nowadays, sequels are pumped out like there's no tomorrow, so I can appreciate the time and effort the staff of ID Software put into making this game. No doubt it was an ambitious decision to change the direction of the game to the more dark sci-fi horror genre, and in many regards it did pay off. It has all the appropriate elements: creepy atmosphere, disturbing cutscenes, frightening demons, extremely low lighting, a presence of hell throughout, and of course, no music. My initial thoughts on this game was just seeing how it compared to classic Doom, but that's not what it's about. Granted, there are some neat parts that pay their respects to the previous games, like when you encounter 2 Hell Knights instead of 1 for the first time, or when you see the box art of the first game on one of those stone tablets, and I'll say it again, it would have been epic if they did something iconic with the final boss battle, but Doom 3 should be played ideally for what it is, not what it could be. I remember why I enjoyed this game so much when I was younger. It was different, but in a familiar way, and in the end, that's why we play video games. To experience the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, and see what makes it unique and special in its own right.